Well, thank you, everyone. I'll start with an introduction. This is my official look, glasses, same T-shirt, you see? Yeah. Jokes aside. My name is Magnus, and as mentioned, I'm the CEO of Otherbeat, and I'm also the host and organizer of the meetup in Sweden called Funkprog Sweden. Since COVID, we went online with the meetup, so now we're like a global meetup, but still called Funkprog Sweden. Maybe a little bit confusing, maybe we should call it something else, but now it's called Funkprog Sweden, so we're going to keep that name. I actually have a background working with C and C++. My first paid job was actually making web pages with HTML and JavaScript. This is pre-CSS time, so you coded everything into HTML. Decided that that was not really gonna make it, thought that JavaScript and all that would die. So I went to university to get a graduation, to actually learn to code. And there we learned everything from like C, C++, assembler, VHDL, you know, the things. Went into coding, coded in C for 2 years. I'm working as a consultant. This is 2008. For global financial crisis. I'm out of my assignment as a C developer. There's a question, do you want to work? We have an assignment for you. Do you want to take it? I say yes. Oh yeah, we didn't tell you. It's in Erlang. I said, let's learn Erlang. How hard can it be? And once I discovered Erlang, I was like, yes, this is the language I should work with for the rest of my life. But then I'm forced to work with other things also. But anyway, yeah. However, prior to learning Erlang, I got the impression, because I worked with C developers that had like 20 plus years of experience. They said like, Erlang has two things. It's only for mathematicians. I know. And it's really hard to learn. But this was not at all my experience when I started to learn Erlang. Maybe because the teacher was so good, I don't know. Who knows? So the purpose of this presentation is to share and inspire more people to go out in the world and teach more people Erlang, Elixir, Gleam, functional programming in general. And also, of course, to spread it to other continents, which what I have done. So now I'm going to tell the story of how Erlang came to spread in Vietnam. You just spawn the module, right? No. How it started. It actually starts with me working at the consulting company that gets an assignment at a big telecom company. You can figure out which it is. We got a team of 8 developers that were supposed to be working as part of their product organization. The team was supposed to be working with Erlang. We are 6 Erlang developers. We recruit 2 more, a junior and a senior developer. This is August 2012. We teach the 2 newcomers to Erlang by just like putting them sitting and pair programming with them. This is pre-mob programming, so we just pair program with the people, getting them up to speed into Erlang. And things goes well. The release cycle back then was every 6 months. So we start in August, during the autumn. We produce a feature, we release a feature, everyone's happy, customer is happy, yay, things work, people are learning things, we're maturing. Things are going so great that the customer says, hey, why not give us another team of 8 developers? Yeah, let's do that. However, they will sit in Vietnam, yay. So this is, now the clock has ticked forward. We're in approximately April 2013. The deal is get 8 developers up to speed in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam by August. That can't be that hard. I mean, we have lots of time to recruit people in Vietnam. So let's go and recruit people in Vietnam. What do? We put out ads looking for Erlang developers in Vietnam. We search, what do? You search user forums, you search Stack Overflow, you go to LinkedIn. We found 0 Erlang developers. Maybe they were Erlang developers in Ho Chi Minh City. We don't know, but we know. We found 0 Erlang developers. Next plan. Let's recruit senior developers that we can teach Erlang, that still have like some kind of domain competence in what we are doing. Doesn't matter. Maybe they worked with C++ and the domain we're working in. Who knows? We put out an ad, we search, we scout for people. We found one person that says, I will do the switch to Erlang. The clock is ticking. Next. Okay, so senior developers are not interested in switching to Erlang. Not at this point, anyway. What do we do now? We recruit 7 junior developers. And in the meantime, while we are this process of finding 8 suitable developers in Vietnam, we're also building our development plan in Sweden. And then we're up in end of June, beginning of July. We have 8 developers ready, 7 juniors, 1 senior. We send 3 developers down to Vietnam to like an intense 3 weeks crash course, learn Erlang, learn the domain, learn the way of working, learn everything on how to build and get this product shipped. The effective Erlang training is approximately 1 week. Not more, but spread out in 3 weeks. We do it by first introducing a concept, like this is a module. Now let's train on the module. Now let's lab. So very hands-on approach, like introduce a concept, practice with people, and test the knowledge. We start, of course, me myself, I love the Erlang shell because it's very easy. You can try out different concepts very easy. We learn everyone to just start up the shell quickly. I would also like to add like the background of these developers were C, C++. Some had Python knowledge, some had scripting competence, but none have ever seen Erlang or any functional language for that matter at all. After 3 weeks of intense training, we're closing into August. We need to have like 2 teams set up. This is what we promised to do. So what we do is that we split the team in Sweden into 2 teams. So now we have 4 developers in Sweden working with 4 developers in Vietnam, meaning that on a daily basis, juniors can teach and help out, seniors can teach and help out the junior developers. Yeah. What was the outcome of all this training? And what was the reaction? What do you think people said when they saw and learned Erlang for the first time? What was the hardest part? No? Sorry? Immutability was one. Not syntax. I actually went to ChatGPT and asked, like, what's the hardest part of learning Erlang? Syntax. No one complained on the syntax. No one said anything about the syntax. It was immutability and how do you do loops. You don't do loops, you do recursiveness. This is, yeah. Yeah. The outcome, of course, is that by start of August, we have 8 developers set up in Vietnam. And now we are totally 16 developers in the complete organization. And we start to work on new features and add product add-ons. What also happened during the autumn is that actually this training worked so well, or we were lucky, or there were very smart people in Vietnam, who knows, that the customer comes back and says, well, this worked really well. Now you're 8 developers. Let's get 6 more developers in Vietnam. So now we continuously, by the end of 2013, we are in the state of having 14 developers in Vietnam, going from 0 in less than 9 months. What do I want to say with this? Erlang is easy to learn and easy to teach. Yeah. What do you do after in 2014? What do we do? Well, we trained a trainer, of course. We realized that anyone and everyone we have to recruit in Vietnam, we will need to teach them. So we selected one developer in Vietnam that would become the Erlang expert trainer and take over all the course material to teach more people and more developers Erlang. This person had also been to Sweden for a couple of weeks, which was good, because then this person had built up kind of a network and infrastructure, the informal infrastructure in a company of how communication actually works, not how the CEO thinks it works, but the actual communication, and built the trust and relationship with the different developers in Sweden. Of course, so what happened during 2014 is that we consolidate the competence. We recruit some more people. There are 6 more developers added during 2014. So by end of 2014, we are now 20 Erlang developers in Vietnam. This is, of course, very promising. If we look at the next picture, here you can see amount of trained Erlang developers in Vietnam. I say trained because not everyone, of course, stays. What happens after a while is that people leave for different reasons. Change of career, change of job, change of city living in, change of all sorts of stuff. However, these are the people that we trained. And as can be seen here in the picture, we started out 2013 with 0 developers, and then we went on up to a bit of over 100 trained developers around 2018 in Vietnam. What also interesting notes here is that you can see first that there's an initial burst of people, then you consolidate the competence, and then post that we start to grow again. Of course, this is also tied to that there was a customer that had an interest in increasing amount of developers, of course. Another interesting note is that during 2016-17, we actually start getting senior developers coming and saying, hey, this Erlang thing might be a thing. It seems fun. A lot of people are doing it. Up until that point, we have more or less only recruited juniors and newly grads. We've not been able to attract senior developers, but at some point, 16, 17, all of a sudden, senior developers start to gravitate towards Erlang, which is, of course, good. This is something we should learn from. Also, another thing that happened during 2016, one of our best Erlang developers left. It was really sad. However, the Erlang developer left for another Erlang assignment in Vietnam. So, someone had set up, someone obviously noticed, hey, there's competence here. Let's go to Vietnam. Let's start recruiting Erlang developers, which is, of course, very good in the long term, because that will widen, then broaden the overall community and the overall competence, the local competence there. So, this brings us to the next topic. Where are we today with the Erlang and Elixir community in Vietnam? I say Erlang Elixir. I know Francesco said earlier we should really say the beam. It should be really the beam. But when we started out the trip back in 2012, there were only Erlang. No one talked about the beam in that sense. So today we guesstimate, or at least what we know, there are around 500 active beamers in Vietnam, more or less. And they are mainly focused in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. Maybe some are sitting in Da Nang, who knows. A majority of the community is Elixir people. Thank you very much for taking Elixir out, broadening the community. And most of the people that came into Elixir community came from other communities, not coming from the Erlang community actually, but coming from probably from Ruby or other places into Elixir, which is really cool and good. There's also a local Elixir meetup currently in Ho Chi Minh City. We encourage everyone to go and start a meetup everywhere to spread the word, so to say. It's called Saigon Elixir, so shout out to the people that runs that community. They started it last autumn. And it's slowly growing and slowly adding people. Yeah. Overall, we assess, or at least this is my guesstimate, that we have trained, including all other companies, have trained approximately 1,000 developers in Vietnam in some Beam language. What we know, there is no people doing Gleam, but again, we don't know everything. But what we know, there's Erlang people, there's Elixir people. There are at least 2 large companies doing Erlang and Elixir in Vietnam. And by large, I mean plus 1,000 people companies. Doesn't mean that they all do Erlang, but they are large companies that are actively recruiting, training, and selling Erlang competence or utilizing for their own software development currently. Yes. So to sum it up, what's the key takeaway of this scaling Erlang across continents? Step 1, you should have, you should have like a core team of Erlang developers or Beam developers or Elixir developers. We were 6, we quickly added on 2, so we were 8 in Sweden. Second thing is, if you want to spread the Beam, you need to travel. Go out in the world. You can travel to your neighbor city or to another continent. But go abroad, or not go abroad, but go abroad from where you are to teach. Because teaching, sitting right next to someone and teaching is much easier and much more fun, and it's much quicker to learn people, to like pair program with people, to meet people and make a contact on a human level. And thirdly, let me see, because now I forgot what the third was. And thirdly, which is at least our experience in Vietnam, is that if you're going to spread it to a complete new city or place, go for the junior developers that are not destroyed by the loop yet, or not chosen a career in either .NET or the Java or whatever, something. Go and find new people that want to learn new things. Yeah. And finally, which I would really like to say, it's a tip. It's not a tip, it's a fact. Is that Erlang is easy to learn and also easy to teach. I just think about the trip we have done in Vietnam. Really shows how easy it is. We went from 0 to being at least over 100 trained Erlang developers in approximately 5 years. It could probably even gone faster, even more developers. This is of course tied to that there's work also for these type of developers. Yeah. And with that, thank you very much for listening.
All right, thank you again. We have about 1 minute for questions. And I know this is a dangerous spot, so I'll keep it short.
Thanks. Have you ever figured out what happened in 2016, 2017? Why so much people started to be interested in Erlang? Maybe Elixir appeared, and then they started to go into Foundation?
Could be. I didn't think of that actually. Maybe that was the reason. We just saw like a search, both that we were more actively looking for people, also that you can see here that the overall the people we trained grew. So maybe we got enough network of networks, people spreading. Yeah, exactly. The cumulative effect of more and more people coming into the Beam.
Okay. I have one last question from Huva. What approach do you have to remote work? What process do you work with?
Back in 2012, we used Skype because it was still usable, and did a lot of pair programming over over the internet. This is of course sometimes tricky because of latency and whatnot. Today, remote work depends on how you organize the team and how you sit, I would say. if you have a mixed team, meaning you have a team consisting of I don't know, 6 to 8 developers, and some of the developers sit in one place and another part of the team sits in another city, it doesn't matter really where, I would really urge people to work with, of course, work with daily meetings. You can call it Scrum, Agile, you can call it whatever you like, but have like a daily morning meeting, and then really have pair programming, and have activities where you sit and work together across the sites. So you don't have two teams in one team, so to say. Yeah, that would be my tip.